Hello everyone. In this presentation, we'll talk about a new class of submodular functions, which we call as linearly representable submodular functions. And we'll see an algebraic algorithm for minimizing them. This is a joint work with Rajat Rathi. So let's start with a brief introduction to submodular functions. So they appear in a diverse set of areas like combinatorics, electrical networks, game theory, and machine learning. In this talk, our interest mainly comes from combinatorial optimization. So first, let's define what are some modular functions. So they are set functions, meaning they are defined on the subsets of a set, which is usually referred as a ground set. So let E be our ground set. Now a function f from the subsets of a set E to reals is called submodular if it satisfies the diminishing returns property. So this diminishing returns property is usually observed in prices of commodities. For example, an item might have some price, but when you take it with a bundle of other items, its price might decrease. And if you take it with even a larger bundle of item, its price might further decrease. So formally, for any two sets T and S of E, where T is a subset of S, and an element y which is outside S, uh, the function f must satisfy this inequality. So the left hand side of this inequality is f of s union y minus fs, which can be viewed as the marginal value of y with respect to s. Similarly, on the right hand side, you have something which can be viewed as the marginal value of y with respect to the set T. So the inequality is saying in some sense that the marginal value of y with respect to a larger set must be at most the marginal value of y with respect to a smaller set. So note that by larger here we mean uh, containment relation. So there is an equivalent characterization of some modular functions uh, which says that for any sets S and T which are subsets of E, f of s plus f of t should be at least f of s union t plus f of s intersection t. So let's see some examples of submodular functions. You can easily verify that these examples satisfy this inequality we talked about. So first, very simple example is that of a linear function. So here, suppose every element E has a weight WE and define for any set S the function f of s to be simply the sum of these weights over all the elements in the set S. So you can in fact see that this function satisfies this inequality with an equality. So it's a trivial example of some modular function. Next, you can consider coverage function. So suppose you have a social network among a set of people, and now for a subset S of people, you can define Fs to be the total number of friends that set S has, including that people in that set itself. So you can verify that this function is submodular. Next example you can consider is the cut function for a given graph. So this cut function is defined on the sets of vertices of a graph. So for any set of vertices S, you can define the function to be the number of edges which goes across from S to complement of S. Another example is on a set of random variables, you can consider the entropy function, which turns out to be submodular. And the last example is the rank function on a set of subspaces. So here for the ground set E, for every element in the ground set, you have a corresponding subspace VE. And for a set of elements S, you define the function to be the dimension of the sum of these subspaces corresponding to the set S. So by the sum here we mean that you just take the union of these subspaces and take the span. This rank function will be very important for this talk as it will occur often in our setting. One should note here that the rank function is a non-decreasing function. Similarly, the coverage function and the linear function, they are also non-decreasing functions. On the other hand, the cut function is not a monotone function. So a submodular function can also be monotone or can be non-monotone. Now, what are some optimization questions around submodular functions? One is submodular minimization, which asks to find a set that minimizes a given submodular function. Similarly, one can define submodular maximization, which will look for a set maximizing a given submodular function. Note that these questions are interesting only for non-monotone functions like graph cut, because for monotone functions, these optimal values will be taken at either the empty set or the whole set. Now, one important question here is that how is the function given us as an input? So one possibility is that the function is given explicitly. For example, the cut function can be simply represented by the underlying graph. There are many other submodular functions which can be represented in such a way explicitly. However, it is known that not all submodular functions can be represented succinctly. Thus, these questions are also studied in the oracle model, where we are given a value oracle to which if you give a subset S, it will return the value of the function fs. Now, what is known about the complexity of these problems? The submodular minimization has a polynomial time algorithm in the oracle model, meaning you only need polynomially many queries to find the minimizing set. The main idea behind this polynomial time algorithm was a result of Lovash, which said that submodular minimization, in some sense, is a discrete version of convex minimization. And thus, in the 80s, they could apply ellipsoid algorithm to solve submodular minimization. Later on in 2000s, a combinatorial algorithm was also found, which in fact was strongly polynomial. So the main question of concern to us in this talk is the parallel complexity of submodular minimization. So one can consider a parallel oracle model where you can ask polynomially many queries to the oracle simultaneously in one round. And the question is, how many rounds do you need to find the minimizing set? So the best upper bound known on this number of rounds is nearly linear. The open question here is that is it possible to do this in sublinear number of rounds? Only recently there was a lower bound given of log n by log n. So there is a big gap between the upper bound and the lower bound, and it's not really clear what is the correct parallel complexity of submodular minimization in the oracle model. On the other hand, if we consider explicitly given submodular functions, there are some specific instances of submodular functions which have efficient parallel algorithms for minimization. So one such example is the ST-min-cut problem. Another example is that of maximum bipartite matching. So directly it doesn't look like a submodular minimization question, but you can use Hall's theorem to show that finding maximum matching size is equivalent to finding the minimizing minimum value of this submodular function, which is given in red. So for this function, the ground set is the left vertices of the bipartite graph, and for any set of left vertices, this function simply is the difference of number of neighbors minus the cardinality of the set itself. So it turns out that this function is submodular, and that's why this maximum matching question in bipartite graphs is equivalent to a submodular minimization question. Note that these parallel algorithms are not oracle based. They use the given representation of the submodular function very crucially. These algorithms are randomized, and they are actually algebraic algorithms, meaning that they use some determinant computation, and that's why they are easy to parallelize. Recently, some de-randomization results have also been obtained, which showed that these algorithms need only very few random bits. Since the parallel complexity of general submodular functions is not completely clear, it's natural to ask what is the most general class of submodular functions that admits such parallel algorithms. If you are interested in algebraic algorithms, then you should look for functions which can be defined algebraically in some sense. So one such example was the rank function, which was defined on a set of subspaces. However, as we discussed before, this function is monotone, and that's why the minimization question is not interesting for this. So, how can you define some modular functions which are algebraic but not necessarily monotone? So, one can try two rank functions and consider their difference, but that function need not be submodular. So, what else can you do? So, this observation will be useful in constructing a non monotone function we are looking for. So, suppose you have a submodular function f, then you can construct another function g, which is defined by this equation: g of s is equal to f of s complement. So, this observation says that if f is submodular, then so is g. The advantage here is that if you are increasing submodular function f, then you can also construct a decreasing submodular function g. So now you can just take two rank functions r1 and r2, apply r1 on s, apply r2 on s complement, and that gives you, and add them up, that gives you a submodular function because submodularity is preserved under addition. And more importantly, this will be a non-monotone function because one component of it is increasing, the another component is decreasing. So this motivates us to define the following class of linearly representable submodular functions. So any function f is called linearly representable if there exists two sets of subspaces, say v1 and v2, and their corresponding rank functions r1 and r2, and f can be written as r1 of s plus r2 of s bar. More generally, you can have multiple rank functions and you can apply few of them on s, say r1s plus r2s, and few others you can apply on s complement. So you have r3s bar plus r4s bar and so on, and you can add them up, and any such function you can get will be called linearly representable. So what all is captured by linearly representable submodular functions? So it turns out that most submodular functions which come from graph optimization problems are linearly representable. So for example, the cut function, the directed graph cut function, the hypergraph cut functions are all linearly representable. Then there is something called a weighted rank function for linear metroids that also turns out to be some linearly representable. And the coverage function we saw in the beginning is linearly representable. More importantly, if you take any combination of these functions by taking complement or adding them up, that also remains linearly representable. So for an illustration, let's see how the cut function on a graph can be linearly represented. So suppose you have a graph G with vertex set T and edge set A. So note here that our ground set is the vertex set T. So we are going to define a subspace for each vertex T, and this subspace is going to be a subspace of R to the A, the edge space. So for a vertex T, you collect all the edges which are incident on this vertex T, and then consider their characteristic 0 1 vectors which lie in R to the A, and then take their span. That gives you a subspace in R to the A, and this is the subspace corresponding to the vertex T. Now, what is the rank function corresponding to this family of subspaces? if you take any set of vertices S, R of S will be simply the dimension of the sum of these subspaces where the vertices belong to the set S, which is nothing but the total number of edges incident on any vertex in the set S. Now, once you observe this, it's easy to see that the cut function delta S is given by this equation Rs plus Rs bar minus the cardinality of A, which is the number of all edges. Why is this true? Because if you look at this expression in red, Rs plus Rs bar, it counts the cut edges twice and all other edges exactly once. That's why it holds. Now let's come to our main result, in which we give a randomized algebraic algorithm for minimizing linearly representable submodular functions. Our algorithm can be efficiently parallelized, and we can also de-randomize it so that it needs very few random bits. So let's see the algorithm. Uh, First, through a series of reduction, we convert our minimization question to a minimizing simple submodular function, which is Rs minus cardinality of S. So here R is the rank function for some set of subspaces. So note that here cardinality of S is a linear function, and that's why it remains submodular even if you take negation of it. So such reductions are also known for general submodular functions, but instead of this rank function R, you get arbitrary non-decreasing submodular functions. So now how do we minimize this simple submodular function Rs minus S? So our algorithm is quite simple. First we take random vectors from these given subspaces. So here we have for each element E in the ground set, we have a subspace VE. So for each subspace VE, we take a random vector in it, let's say AE. So let U be the set of all these vectors AE we have constructed. So next we construct a subset S star of the ground set. So it is the set of all those elements E such that the vector AE participates in some linear dependency in U. So, or equivalently, you can define S star to be the set of all elements E in the ground set such that rank of U is same as the rank of U minus AE. Now, finally, our claim is that this set S star we constructed is a set which minimizes our function Rs minus S, and this finishes our algorithm. Okay, so now let's prove the mentioned claim, which will imply the correctness of our algorithm. So just to remind, U is the set of vectors where we chose exactly one random vector from each subspace, and S star is a subset of the ground set corresponding to those vectors in U that participate in some linear dependency among vectors in U. Now our first step is to find the value of R of S star, which we claim is given by this equation. So let's elaborate on this equation. So the left hand side of this equation is R of S star, which is nothing but the dimension of the span of all subspaces put together that correspond to the elements in S star. And on the right hand side, we have taken exactly one random vector from each of these subspaces corresponding to S star, and we are considering the rank of this collection. So clearly the right hand side cannot be more than the left hand side. Now this claim is saying that these two things are equal. This is a non-trivial claim and is the crux of our argument. And let's see a short proof for this claim. So by definition of S star, these vectors AEs have some linear dependencies among them. So consider, for example, that AE1 is in the linear span of AE2 and AE3. Now, since AE1 is a random vector in VE1, it means that almost every vector in VE1 is in this span. And if almost every vector in VE1 is in this span, just means that the whole subspace VE1 is in this span. Now you can make the same argument for every element in the set S star, and you can get that all these subspaces corresponding to set S star are in the span of these vector AEs, and this will prove your claim. Now, since vectors outside S star do not participate in any dependency, this is by definition, it must be that the number of these outside vectors, which is same as cardinality of E minus cardinality of S star, so this thing must be equal to the difference of rank of all vectors in the set U and the rank of the vectors corresponding to set S star. Now we can use claim 1 to say that this rank highlighted here is same as R of S star, and then we can rearrange this equation to get that R of S star minus cardinality of S star is same as rank of U minus cardinality of E. So here we have just brought this cardinality of E on the right hand side and taken this rank of S star on the left hand side. Now note that this R of S star minus S star is nothing but our function value on S star. So now we have gotten the function value on S star. So next we will just simply claim that for any other subset of the ground set, say S, the function value Fs is at least rank U minus cardinality of E. So this will just mean that our set S star is indeed the minimizing set. Okay. So let's see a proof of this claim. So again the proof is pretty straightforward. First, we split the set U into two parts, one containing the vectors corresponding to set S and the other containing the vectors corresponding to set S complement. By the subadditivity of the rank function, we know that rank of U is at most the sum of these two ranks corresponding to set S and S bar. Next, we will upper bound these two ranks by the following quantities. So first, for the first set, the vectors here come from the subspaces corresponding to elements in S, and that's why the rank of all these vectors together can be at most the dimension of all these subspaces put together that correspond to the set S, and this dimension is equal to R of S. And on the other hand, for this other set, the rank of these vectors corresponding to S complement can be at most the rank, the number of these vectors, and the number of these vectors is nothing but the cardinality of S complement, which is same as cardinality of E minus cardinality of S. Now you can rearrange this inequality to get this claim. So this finishes the proof of our claim 2, and we get that S star is indeed a minimizing set for our function. So now let's conclude with some applications of our results. So one nice byproduct of our algorithm is an algebraic proof we get for a combinatorial min-max relation, which is known as linear polymetroid intersection theorem. Secondly, there are these two combinatorial optimization problems which we show can be reduced to minimizing linearly representable submodular functions, and thus we get parallel algorithms for these. To the best of our knowledge, previously there were no known such parallel or algebraic algorithms for these problems. And let's end with some open questions. So firstly, what is the parallel complexity of general submodular minimization? Secondly, is there a larger class of submodular functions that admits parallel algorithms? And finally, are there more applications of this new class we defined of linearly representable submodular functions?